This is Dr. Wasif consultant, public health and safety, and advisor to Global One Health Initiative. I'll talk about fighting corona with common sense practice, knowing that common sense is not that common. We know a lot about COVID-19, and I apply those knowledge into common sense practice and how we can protect ourselves by using that practice. So number one, incubation period. We know the incubation period is 1 to 2 weeks, which means that we may not know that I have the infection. The guy next to me has the infection for 2 weeks because he will not have any symptoms, will not be diseased by symptoms of cough or fever or one of those. So my common sense would be that I would assume that everybody that I am acquainted with, they have the infection, and I have the infection myself, so I will not give it to others. That's number one, common sense. 2, it's good that many cities, towns, and countries are even locking down, but it would be better, much better, if we acted all together. If the United Nations, WHO, the world bodies have got together and come up with a time frame and the time that we will all act at the same time, lock down the whole world at the same time. Why this is important? Because the fear of re-emergence of the disease. For example, China is clean now. If we do not do it all together, then perhaps China can get it back from cities and countries where there was no lockdown. So the virus was still surviving somewhere. We learned a good lessons from how we eradicated smallpox, because we got together and we eradicated from this planet. Similarly, we can do it with COVID-19. Get it together at the same time. We know that it is airborne for a little distance, not far. It doesn't go far. You sneeze or you cough, it settles down and settles down on the surface. And it's been seen that it is also seen in feces. Now, let's give an example of a balloon, which is light. Now, if I inflate a balloon and leave it here, and if it is in a room where there's no ventilation, no air movement, obviously it's going to fall down in seconds in front of me. But if I was to leave the balloon outside in the air, where there's some kind of wind blowing, then it will move to quite a distance. And when it moves to quite a distance, it's going to be in acquaintance with a lot of people, contaminating all the people that it went through. This is a good example of coronavirus. So my best practice would be washing our hand and not touching our face. If we have to touch our face, sometimes it's very easy to say don't touch your face with your fingers. But you don't find, water and soap everywhere if I'm outside or something, and then the human nature, we're gonna touch. So the best thing I would suggest is to, if you have to touch, make it a habit. You touch from the back of your thumb, this way. Because you would never, ever touch, almost never, ever touch any object like this. This is not real. So you always touch like this, or even like this, but you never, ever touch objects like this. So this is the safest part of your body. Then you can scratch, do whatever, unless you get the water and soap or a detergent to clean yourself. Now, we know that this virus is unstable at a high temperature, and temperature of 30 degrees or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit will make it very unstable. Now, the good thing is this virus, it has a covering, fat layer, 2 layers of fat. Now, obviously, if you put anything that has a layer of fat in the heat, it melts, right? It makes it unstable. So the common sense practice is, how can we expose this virus at an environment where the temperature is hot? The countries like India, Bangladesh, Dubai, Singapore, Malaysia, those are hot and humid. So the virus is very unstable at a high temperature and at a humidity of 70-80%. So if we can create that environment, we'll make it unstable inside our house. So increase the temperature, shut off your ACs. Buy a humidifier in the house. You would have to increase and put it onto heat mode. It may be uncomfortable for half an hour for you, but it will be very uncomfortable for the virus. This is what we want. And then we can step out in the veranda for half an hour and let it go for half an hour at that temperature, over 30 degrees Celsius or over 90 degrees Fahrenheit. A typical AC temperature of 22 degrees Celsius with a humidity of about 40% will keep the virus alive for 5 days. We don't want that. We want to keep the virus as soon as possible, increasing temperature and increasing the humidity. Now, we all get panicky when you talk about disinfectants and sanitizers running out in the market, high price. It's very simple. You can make your own. It's simple. All we need is just 70% alcohol or hydrogen peroxide, 0.5% hydrogen peroxide, or even everybody has bleaching liquid at home. We can dilute it and make it 0.1% solution of a bleaching solution and use it as a sanitizer, as a disinfectant. Perfect. And if you have to rub it in your hand, use some lotions after that. Simple. You don't have to get panicky because there is no sanitizers in the market. Now, what is very important is we understand that we have talked a lot about hand washing and a virus being contaminated in the hand, but nobody talks about what about my clothings, right? So it can also get, because I'm touching, the table with my shirt and everything, and I can maybe leaning on my chair or on the wall or somewhere, I might get contaminated also. So what I do with this? Simple, wash. The things that you cannot wash, use steam iron and kill it. Simple, common sense, right? So we don't have to really panic. Panic because, I may have the disease and I'm gonna die. The more we panic, the chances are, yes, we will have the disease, more severe disease. It has been shown by scientists in Harvard University saying that they termed a coin, and it is called psychoendoneuroimmunology. What basically says that if you think that this disease is going to kill you, then chances are that yes, you will die prematurely. So because the mind, it works through your system, that interacts with the body in a way that what the mind thinks, the body also behaves that way. So let us not be distressed. Let us not be, panicky about it. Fight it. If we have the disease, we fight it. It's not going to kill, because the mortality is less, much less than HIV. Much less than HIV. And the worst thing about HIV is it has a long incubation period. This is only 1 to 2 weeks. HIV has months, maybe 6 months. You don't know you have HIV and you're spreading it out all over for the last 6 months. So it is not as bad as HIV, but yes, infectivity is higher, But if you are careful, use some common sense, then we can protect ourselves and eradicate this virus, COVID-19, from this planet by using simple common sense. Thank you so much.